63b. The last thing we said is that the Jewish people, that they love Torah as if it was given today. Not like it's an old thing that was given a long time ago. If you want to send to the group you're on at your convenience. As if it was given today. And the Gemara brings a proof. 63b. 63b in the wide lines. The first word of the line is Chia. Amar Rav Tamcha Rav Chia, you have it about 8 lines from in the wide lines. Tell me if you have it. Lines, and the first word of the line is Chia. You have it? 63b? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 lines from the right. Amar Tancham Rav Chia, Ish Kfa Aku from Aku. Teda. So Odom Kori Kriyas Mashachas Avris. A person reads Shema. There's a mitzvah in the Torah to read Shema every day, every morning, and what? Every night. You repeat the Shema, right? If it's happened early, what do you do, Yaron? You repeat the 3 parashiot. The Erev Echad in a Koreh, if he doesn't read the Shema one night, it's like he never read Shema. He feels as if as if he never read Shema. Because every day it's so cherished, it's so new, it's so fresh to the person. It's not like, I've done it so many times, so I missed one time, it's no big deal. If I miss one time, a person feels terrible. I miss Shema. Because it's not so, what do you mean? You did it so many times. It's an old thing. It's not an old thing. It's new and it's so fresh and it's meaning. So every day people look at Torah as if it's a new thing. What do you want to say, Aaron? Right, you can't make it up. You lost it, right? But look how the person feels as if he just got it today. Hasket. So what does Moshe Rabbeinu say? Hasket, listen, asu kitot kitot. So the Gemara now is darshaning. What does it mean? Hasket. The pasuk says Hasket. Hasket means to listen, but Hasket also the hey and an ayin are into the letters of it says Hasket, and all the letters that come from one spot, the letter hey is interchanged with the letter ayin. So therefore Hasket, you could look at Hasket as if it says askat, make a group, make group learning. Asu kitot kitot, make group learning. The Iskava Torah. You're not supposed to learn by yourself. Of course, you learn by yourself when you don't have a group. But when you have a group, when you learn with a chavruta, with a shir, you're supposed to learn with a group. Case, make groups. Case is a cat. Haskat. Haskat, make groups. The Iskava Torah. Fish'ena Torah niknes. Torah is only acquired only if a person learns Torah in a group, part of a group. The Amar Rav Chanina, Rabbi Yosef Chanina, the pasuk says, "Cherv al badim v'noalu." There should be punishment to the badim v'noalu, and they're foolish. So the Gemara says, what does that mean? Cherev al saneim shazim lechamim. The punishment should come to the enemies of the Torah scholars. Really, it's referring to the Torah scholars. The Torah scholars themselves should be punished. But we don't want to say that the Torah scholars should be punished. What do we say? The enemies of the Torah scholars should be punished. Why? Because they're sitting, the pasuk says, they're sitting alone. They're learning by themselves. There's a problem that they're not learning with someone else. They're not learning with a chavruta. They become foolish. If you don't have a chavruta, you don't learn with a group, you just learn by yourself. You become foolish because you make mistakes. You don't catch a mistake. When you learn with somebody else, maybe the other person can say, "Oh no, that's not correct." It says by a Talmud Chacham that learns Torah by himself, he becomes foolish. And it says over there by Sarat Asher No'alu. He says that they said that when they spoke Lashon Hara when Aaron and Miriam spoke Lashon on Moshe, it says, we've acted foolish. Forgive us that we acted foolishness, that we spoke about you, Moshe Rabbeinu. So we see from over there that just like over there it means foolishness, so too over here, when it refers about punishment coming to the Talmud, that people learning by themselves, it also connects the idea of being foolish. So that's what the Gemara said. Not only that, the Gemara said by being foolish, it leads to what? It leads to sin. Because if you make mistakes, then you're gonna say things that are wrong. You're gonna permit certain things that are forbidden. Good morning, Jaime. Good morning, Yosef Atzadik. You're gonna permit certain. Good morning. So we're now on Samach, and that you shouldn't permit. We're now on Samach Gimel on the base in the art scroll. Samach Gimel on the base, 63b4. 63b4 on the left column, the left side. That the Gemara says if you don't learn together with other people, you learn by only by yourself, then you make mistakes that lead to sin, because you say the wrong verdict, that the rabbi will make mistakes in his issuing of decisions. They'll sin. Because we see by Aharon, they said the foolishness led to what? To sin. We have another pasuk that says Na'alu Saret Saran. It says the word Na'alu Saret Saran. It says the word Na'alu, and it's connected with, and it talks about a sin. So we see Na'alu, the foolishness, not learning with other people, learning by yourself, only by yourself, leads to sin. You make mistakes. We're now in the bottom corner, 63b4, bottom, Dava Acher. The last line on the left column. Dava Acher. Hasket Ushma Yisrael. The word Hasket has in it the language of kitatu. What does kitatu mean? Kitatu means to grind yourself. You have to push yourself. In order to get Torah, to really become a real Torah scholar, the Gemara says, Hasket. If you grind yourself, you push yourself, then Ushma. Hasket Ushma. You're going to understand Torah. What is it dependent on? How much you give of yourself. You push off breakfast, you push off supper, you push off sleep from your eyes, you stay up a little later learning Torah. You don't go into have all the, I have to have all the pleasures. I have to eat now. I have to wait. You'll wait a little bit. You're learning. Whatever things that you need to do to give of yourself, that will cause you to grow in Torah. The Reish Lakish, Dom Reish Lakish, on the right column on 63b, Dom Reish Lakish, Menayin Shein Divrei Torah Meskemi Al Misha Meimet Atzmo Alea. The Torah remains only on a person that really gives of himself on the Torah. Shenema Adam Zosa Torah Adam Ki Yomut Ba'oel. Says those. It says the pasuk says Zosa Torah Adam Ki Yomut. Where is Torah found? When a person now doesn't mean you need to die over the Torah. That means dying means you give up from the physical pleasures of this world in order to go ahead and learn Torah. That's what you have to be giving of yourself. Many people, they learn in Kollel, they don't make enough money. They're giving of themselves, and those people become the big Talmidei Chachamim. They become the big Torah scholars. They're giving up from the pleasures of the world. Okay, I saw a different shot that it means when it says a person has to go ahead and Yamut Ba'ohel. What is it referring to? That if a person, he has to get rid of, he has to, so to speak, kill the midat ra'o. Zos haTorah adam ki yamut ba'ohel. Person has to let all those bad midot, that ego has to go down. It has to die. It shouldn't be there. All that, you have to get rid of all those, the haughtiness and all those bad midot. You got to get rid of them. You have to kill them. That's what it's Adam ki yomut ba'ohel. Dava acher, Hasket Ushma Yisrael. Hasket is the word has, like vayahas kalei v'sa'am. Got people to be quiet. First, you have to be quiet. When the rabbi, you go when you have to first know the law, listen to the law. After you know the law, the fact, then you analyze it, then you ask questions. But if a person goes ahead and he doesn't listen to understand what the law is, to hear the ground rules, to hear what the basic law is, and then he's going to start analyzing without knowing the facts. First, you got to know the facts. Therefore, you have to listen first, gather the facts, then analyze, then ask, and then go into it. Hasket has. First, be quiet and listen and get it straight. Get the word, get the law, and then you analyze it. Has. Then you grind it. Then you ask. Then you look into it. Has. Rava says, Torah. First, you should learn, know the law, and then go deep into the law. Now you know the law. Now we can analyze law. If you don't know the law well, and you start asking questions, you don't even know what you're asking, because your whole question is based on something that you're going against the accepted law. So your question is not a question. The squeezing of milk yields butter. Umitzaf, this is a pasuk in Mishlei. Umitzaf, and the squeezing of anger yields blood. Mitzapayim, and the squeezing of double anger, yotzi riv, yield dispute. What does that mean? What does a pasuk mean? Very interesting pasuk. That as a result of the squeezing of the milk, you're going to get butter. What does that mean? We know you squeeze milk from milk. The top of the milk. You get the butter when you. So the butter is the fatty part of the milk. That's the butter. Where do you find the chema shel Torah, the fat of the Torah? What is the fat of the Torah? Symbolic of growth in Torah. Person being a great Torah scholar. The person who, like the milk that he got from his mother, that his very essence, his milk, his strength, he gives up from his strength. He gives up from himself to Torah. He's willing to go that extra mile, to push himself. Of course, we're not talking about putting himself in danger, but he pushes himself as much as he can, as much as makes sense that he's able to do. That's the person. That's mimich chalav. You give of yourself so much, then you have the chema, then you have the fat of the Torah. Umitzaf. Now we're going to see the midot tovot, the way you act in your midot and your character traits, your personality, how it affects your Torah knowledge. The Gemara continues, mitzaf, the squeezing of anger, yotzi dam. What does that mean? Kol tamid chacham shekosh elav rav. Pam rishona v'shotek. If your rabbi gets angry at you and you let it go, and you don't respond, you take the criticism. What happens is Hashem will give you, and as a result of that, maybe you were embarrassed. Your rabbi yelled at you. Not all rabbis. Sometimes some rabbis are a little strong. But you know what? But you needed the rabbi. You need the rabbi to teach you the Torah. Whatever, the rabbi maybe was a little bit strong, but you let it go. You didn't allow that criticism that the rabbi gave to you and to overtake you and to knock you out. You didn't. You just accepted it. And maybe the rabbi had a reason why he did it. He wanted to show you what you're doing wrong in life. And you accept the criticism. You know what happens? Hashem will give you tremendous rewards. There are certain types of blood, certain shades of blood. Some shades are considered real blood. Some shades is not. And in order we go to a Torah scholar to tell us, is this kosher? Does the lady become impure as a result of this color or not? And the person who takes the anger of his rabbi and he doesn't allow it to get to him, he's quiet, he forgives. What happens? Hashem will give him a reward that the same way he'll be able to understand the difference between this blood and another blood. And then you have to meet them, and it takes a lot of knowledge and it takes a lot of understanding. But that's the reward that Hashem will give you because you acted with proper midot tovot. It will affect your understanding of the Torah. See, the Rashi says, why was the rabbi upset? Because you didn't understand the lesson. And the rabbi was upset with you. You should have understood the lesson. Now, I can't tell you whether the rabbi should have got angry or not. But at the end of the day, you let it go, Hashem will give you great reward. We know sometimes it says, if a person embarrasses someone, and if you just don't respond, they say you get the reward that you get for accepting. There's many stories about if someone got embarrassed right after a guy got embarrassed. Let's say someone who didn't have children for many years, they would go over to the person who was just embarrassed, and the person who was just embarrassed did not respond, and they would say, "Give me a blessing, because you're on such a high level because you took an embarrassment and you let it go." So isn't
that a nirdaf? A nirdaf?
Nirdaf. Yeah, nirdaf is someone who is pursued. Exactly, he's a victim. So someone who is a victim of, and they would say, "Please give me a blessing." And think of the famous story about Yashuv, maybe how he was born. Maybe his mother went over to someone who was their story that was so embarrassed, and they didn't respond yet. And they didn't respond, and they let it go. So give me a blessing, and the power of that blessing when someone just got embarrassed was such a great power. What? You got to read the story. What do you? You heard such a story, like a wild story with the clothing, with the laundry, a whole story. Good morning, Akiva. So the Gemara says, "Umitzah payim yotzi riv."
Good morning, Rabbi.
What'd you say?
Good morning.
Morning. It says, "Umitzah payim yotzi riv." So a squeezing of double anger. What does that mean? If your rabbi gets upset at you once, and then he gets upset at you twice, he got upset at you twice, and therefore yet you will go ahead and you were quiet, which is a harder thing. He gets angry at you once, it's one thing. He gets angry at you once, and then 5 minutes later he gets angry at you again. So, and you are quiet, you know what Hashem will give you the reward. The reward is, now again, your blood moves when you go ahead and you get angry, when you get embarrassed. You turned white. So because your blood moved, mamanos, dine mamanos is called damim. It's called like blood. People give their blood to work, to make money. They give their life. I mean, they spend time of their life to earn money. It's called damim. Hashem will give you the ability to understand. The hardest thing in Torah to understand is the detail of how to paskin money matters, financial matters, how to apply your understanding, and that's going to be, you're going to merit, Hashem is going to bless you to be able to be that Torah scholar. So we see a lot of times to become the greatest Torah scholar, the greatest judge in the Jewish community is not only based on your learning abilities. Your abilities, if you let things go and you don't respond and you're patient and you take it and it's your rabbi, he means well. He got angry at you because you didn't understand, you didn't follow, maybe he felt you weren't paying enough attention and you let it go, Hashem will gift you Torah. You'll understand Torah in a different way. Because why? Because of your midot tovot. Is that amazing? Jaime, is that amazing? The midot tovot, how it affects your learning, your understanding of learning. But Moshe Feisi knew so much Torah, not just because of his learning time that he spent in Torah. Because of his great midot tovot, Hashem gifted him Torah. Like in this week's parasha, it talks about Hashem gave the Torah to Moshe Rabbeinu. He gave it in 40 days. All the Torah, it's a gift. It's like a kala, like a bride to a husband. It's a gift. Hashem gave, what Rashi brings down, a wife is a gift to the husband. The Torah was given to Moshe Rabbeinu as a gift. It's not only Moshe Rabbeinu, every rabbi who lets things go will get a gift of Torah. And that's what it says. And you could just imagine whether if you're not a rabbi and you let things go, you also get other gifts. God will give you great presents for not responding, not making a fight, to letting it go. What do you say, Aaron? He'll be able to understand the depth of financial matters, which is deeper than even capital punishment. Deeper than sometimes you deal with issues. Is a guy obligated death, murder issues that pertain to death, and issues that pertain to money. It's more difficult, the details to understand how to apply death and these type of things are more clear cut. You have witnesses and so on and there's basic things. But money, you have to be able to figure out. It's much more given to your intellect and your application and your knowledge, how to understand and your seichel based on all the learning. If you want to become very smart, you have to engage in dinei mamonot, financial matters, laws, monetary laws. There's no place in the area in the Torah that's greater than them in depth, the financial matters, and he'll be able to understand it as a result of his midot tovot. They're like a fountain. How the details and how the application, the new cases, every new financial case, how to apply the situation. It's not, what are you saying? You get gifted the understanding based on what? On your midot tovot. Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, like it says, Torah Moshe kibul Torah Sinai. Pirkei Avot starts with Moshe received the Torah Sinai, and the Rav in the Mishnah says, why does Pirkei Avot start with Moshe kibul Torah Sinai? So the Rav says, because you need to know that midot tovot were given at Sinai. How you act as a person, midot tovot, is from Sinai. Morning, Morris. That's what you need to understand. It's not just that the laws of Shabbat were given at Sinai. Yes, the laws of Shabbat were given at Sinai. But midot tovot, the midot tovot, how you act as a Jew, how you interact with people, that was given at Sinai also. It's Torah. Pasuk from the Chemia, you hear that, Yaron? Pasuk from the Chemia before the Chsanya. One second, the Gemara says, Omer Rav Shmuel Manachmeni, 63b, left column. Omer Shmuel Manachmeni, Maidik Siv, in the Valta Visnasei, if you shame yourself, you'll be uplifted. But if you muzzle yourself, you'll have a hand on your mouth. What does it mean? If you shame yourself, you'll be uplifted. That means, if let's say you embarrass yourself regarding Torah, how do you embarrass yourself? You ask a question, you keep on asking questions, and you might not be afraid. Maybe someone's going to laugh at you. Maybe someone's going to say you're asking such a question. But if you're not afraid, Rashi says you ask your rabbi all your questions. Even though you know that some of the questions your friends are going to make fun of you. Now, your friends are wrong. Your friends have no right to make fun of you. But you know it's going to happen. And you're not embarrassed. You ask what you ask anyways. You know what happens? So let's not say. You're going to go ahead and you'll be uplifted. You will gain great knowledge by asking the questions. But if you don't ask the questions, if you put a muzzle on your mouth, yad lepeh, then you'll have nothing to say. Someone's going to ask you a question in the future. You're going to put your hand on your mouth. You have nothing to respond. By not asking, you don't learn. Lo habayshal lamed. The guy who's embarrassed doesn't learn. Don't be embarrassed. Ask the question. Like I always say, there's no such thing as a foolish question. Every question a person needs to ask.
Rabbi,
yes.
It's kind of, I think it's known, for if somebody is embarrassing you in the synagogue and you hold yourself, people normally will come and ask your blessing, because that moment you basically open the gates of the heaven because you overcome, the worst of everything,
Right. So
and not just that. Also, additional to that, if you are mad and you know how to hold yourself in that moment of madness, that somebody told you like, oh, I took all your money, like you were like about to explode on him, and you hold yourself, you can actually give blessing to other people by holding yourself.
Exactly. Beautiful. And it said, Maval Midosov, it says if you're forgiving for people, you don't make a fight or let it go, Hashem forgives you. That's what the Gemara says. Nechemia, he was a guest from Yavneh. He's speaking about the honor of the host. We're on the right column, 63b on the right side. Shaul says to Cain, when Shaul's about to go to war against Amalek, he says, Shaul is the first Jewish king. He says to the people of Cain, move away from Amalek. We don't want you to get killed. When we fight Amalek, we want you to be safe. Maybe you're going to get killed with him. But why are we telling you to move away from him? And why are we sparing you? Because you did chesed in kol bnei Yisrael. You did chesed with all the bnei Yisrael. So the Gemara says, now what was the chesed you did the bnei Yisrael? So Rashi says that you gave to eat. It says when Aaron and the Zikna Yisrael came to eat bread, and Yitro was the ancestor of Cain, because of what your great-great-grandfather did, we're rewarding the great-grandchildren, and therefore we have gratitude, and we're not going to kill you. Because of what your great-grandfather did, Yitro gave to eat to Moshe and Aaron and the elders. Now look, Yitro, when Yitro gave to eat to Moshe, and he made this meal for Moshe, look, Koraves Moshe, look for Atzmo, he did it, he had in mind, he knew he's going to get reward, get honor. It's like, I'm making a meal for Moshe Rabbeinu. And what's going to happen as a result of this meal for Moshe Rabbeinu? It's going to happen. I'm going to get a lot of honor. He knows he's going to get a lot of honor by making a meal that Moshe Rabbeinu, what did he say? Right, he holds the big chacham. Yaron said he holds the big chacham. Yisro, it was a great honor that Moshe Rabbeinu should come to his meal. Yitro throws a party and Moshe Rabbeinu comes to the meal. So if Moshe comes to the meal and he knows that Yitro knows that I'm making this meal. I'm doing this act of chesed, making this meal. But and he knows he's going to he himself is going to have a lot of personal benefit because of wanting Daniel that he made this meal. And even though you know you're getting benefit, but at the end of the day, you made the meal for Moshe Rabbeinu. So Hashem still gives such great reward that generations later your children will be safe from war because of the chesed, the schut, because of what you did. So you, the people of Yavneh, that you host the Torah scholars. You're not getting such honor by the Torah scholars. These are not famous Torah scholars. let's say the young people in the kollel, young Talmidei Chachamim are coming to your house. It's not, you don't get so much fame, you don't get so much honor. People don't look, you might not see the great honor, but you should know if you go ahead and you're helping them, and you're not getting so much honor for hosting the Talmid Chacham in your house. You're not getting that honor. When you give them to eat, you give them to drink, and you help the Talmid Chacham. You give the Torah scholar, you give him food, you give the Torah scholar drink. He's in your house. You take care of him. And you let him benefit from your properties. Sometimes you give him money to do business with, or whatever. You help you help the Torah scholar financially and take care of his material needs. And you're not getting honor. No one's honoring you for that. How much more so you're going to be rewarded with tremendous reward. So therefore, that's what he says to the host. You, the host of the town of Yavne, you're hosting the Torah scholars. You should know you're going to be rewarded great, because you're doing an amazing, great thing by hosting the Torah scholars in your house and helping them. And Hashem is going to reward you greatly. Rabbi Yossi spoke about the honor of the host. He has another way to each rabbi is talking about telling the host the greatness of what they're doing. A lot of times people don't realize the greatness of what they're doing. Do we realize the greatness of do you realize that what? Right. So Pasach Rabbi Yossi, the honor of the Ksanya V'Dorish. Lo Sesav Edomi. The Torah says when it comes to the people from Edom, from Esav, and they want to convert to Judaism, after they convert to Judaism, the third generation convert, let's say the first generation, let's say I convert, my son convert, my son, the grandson, the third generation can marry a Jew from birth, right? That's the law from person from Edom. There are some people from Moab, you can never marry a person from Moab who converted to Judaism, can never marry, a man from Moab can never marry a Jew from birth. They only can marry other converts, there are other people they can marry. They can't marry a Jew from birth. And why is it that Torah says, but Edom, I'm going to allow the third generation to marry a Jew from birth? Similar to Mitzrayim, an Egyptian converts to Judaism, first generation can't marry a Jew from birth. Second can't, but the third he can. Why? Because Hashem remembered something that their ancestors did. Because if they did something good, they're going to go ahead and their descendants will be rewarded. That Hashem is not going to distance some of these converts from Jews from birth. So that's what the Gemara says. Oh, Sasai Edomi, Edomi, Esav, Ki Achichahu, because he comes from the family of Abraham, Yitzchak, the Yitzchak's children. So you should marry, after third generation, you can marry, a Jew from birth can marry that convert, the children from the grandchild from the convert. Well, Sav Mitzri, an Egyptian, why? Third generation you could marry, but why are you allowed to marry third generation Egyptian convert from the convert, someone whose grandfather converted to Judaism, a Jew from birth? Why? They were the host nation, and when you were in Egypt, they took care of you in Egypt. They gave you a place. They gave you even though later on they did all those terrible things to Jewish people, but for those years of tranquility, that Yaakov was there and the children were there before all the difficulties, it was great. The Jewish community flourished greatly in Egypt during Yaakov's period and when the Shvatim were alive. The Egyptians, they had their own motives as well. Besides they hosted you because they had benefit. They saw they'll have benefit by having the Jewish community. Paro says to Yosef, if you know your brothers, the people of strength, let them take care of my cattle. I mean, he was thinking about what he could gain on the deal. Profit, what he could gain on the deal. So even though he had his own personal ideas, motives as well, yet they're still they're rewarded that you could marry a convert after the third generation. Hashem remembers that they were a host nation. So a person who has a Torah scholar and he lets him stay in his house, and when he gives him food, he gives him drink, and he lets him benefit from his properties, how much more so we have to have what a great act it is. What an amazing act it is that Hashem is going to reward the host for having the Talmid Chacham. If because he has no ulterior motives, he has no personal gain person by giving Talmid Chacham in his house. He's not gaining. The Talmid Chacham is not going ahead and doing a business deal for him, but yet he's not tipping him off what's the best stock to buy. But yet he's doing it solely. It's only l'shem shamayim. You can imagine the great reward you're going to have for having that Torah scholar in your house, and therefore that's what he said to the people. Good morning, Rabbi. People of Yavneh. Good to see you, Rabbi. Pasach Rabbi Eliezer. He says a different thing. Hashem is over Edom. You know, the Aron HaKodesh, David HaMelech placed the Aron HaKodesh, but over Edom was a Levi. And he placed it because there were situations that necessitated that he wanted the Aron to be in Oved Edom's house. So it stayed for about 3 months in Oved Edom, a Levi's house. And because he had the Aron HaKodesh in his house, great blessing came to his house. Hashem blessed this Levi. It's called Oved Edom. Why was he blessed? Because he had the Aron. The Holy Ark was situated by his house. Isn't it a kavachomer? The Aron. What did he do for the Aron? What do you do to take care of the Aron? He housed the Aron in his house. You didn't have to feed the Aron. The Holy Ark doesn't eat. You didn't have to give it to drink. What you cleaned the floor and you put some water down to keep the dust down. That was the amount that you need to go ahead and to sweep and put some water down on the floor in order that the dust shouldn't come up. He got such great reward for housing the Aron without any real work to it, so it's much work to take care of it. When you have a Torah scholar in the house, you're doing a lot of work. You're feeding him, giving him to drink, he's benefiting from your property. Sometimes he might be taking up some of the space in the house. He's benefiting from that property, and you're taking away from some of your space. How much more so when you're giving of yourself? How much more? Hashem will give you such blessing. And we saw, by the way, with Elisha, Isha Shunammit, in the Navi, how the great blessing that happened. She didn't have children, and what did he do? He blessed her with, and he was so the gratitude that he had that she was hosting, they were hosting him. He gave him a blessing for a child, even though he didn't have children for so many years. So the Gemara says, "My bracha sheberchu." What was the bracha that Hashem blessed over there? Don't for housing the Aron, the Holy Ark. Zilchamot, his wife. Ushmona Kalatel, his wife and his 8 daughter-in-laws that he had it from his wife. His wife, it's a beautiful Gemara, as Yaron says. He was married. His wife gave birth to he's married, and his wife gave birth to 8 sons. So they had 8 daughter-in-laws, and the 8 daughter-in-laws, each daughter-in-law had 6 children at one time. Like when Jews came out of Egypt, they were blessed with 6 children at one time. So they were blessed with, they call it six tuplets. That's what they call it. So that was the blessing. Shenema, as the pasuk says, Pa'alti, the pasuk says, Pa'al Pu'ultai Heshmini was the 8th child born to Oved Edom. Ki Berachos Elokim. Hashem blessed him. He blessed him with such a big family. Kol Eile Oved Edom Hema. These are from the family of Edom. Ubneihem Achayim Chayil Ish Chayil B'Koach La'avodah Shishim Ushnayim. A total of 62. How is it 62? So let's do the math. 8 children. His 8 daughter-in-laws, each had 6 apiece, is 48. And then she herself, and then the children themselves, 48 grandchildren. And then we have another 8 children, because the children themselves is another 8. And the total, if you figure everything out, the total will be 62. The family will be a total of 62. If you push the time, when it's not the right time, it's too early, prematurely, you want to take over. People want to take over their someone else's position, and it's not time yet. Avshalom wanted to take his father's position, David HaMelech's position. It's not time yet. His father's alive. What are you trying to rule for? Or if a person sees something, he wants to take a position of whatever it might be, financial position, a leadership position, before the time, you know what's going to happen? He's not going to get it. The time is going to push him away. It's not going to get the position. Someone who's patient, who waits for the right time, then that will happen. Then the right time will come. A lot of times in politics, sometimes people push themselves into certain positions. They're running for a position. They're not ready for that position, or whatever the position might be in life. You have to make sure, you have to know the timing when it's right or whether it's premature. And the Gemara, Rabbi Yosef, the Gemara says an amazing story. The Rabbi Yosef Sinai. Rabbi Yosef was a rabbi who was knowledgeable, and he has encyclopedic knowledge, photographic memory of the laws. And Rabbi was Okaharim. Rabbi was the one who was much more detailed analysis. The way he was able to analyze something was unbelievable. His level of even the other rabbi also had great abilities, but he was even far surpassed him, Rabbi. Now, the hour came that they needed someone to become the head rabbi in Bavel. Who's going to be the new rabbi in Bavel, the Rosh Hashiva in Bavel? Do you go after the rabbi who has the more knowledge, but he's not, the level of in-depth analysis is not as great as the other rabbi? Or do you go after the analysis more than the broad knowledge? So the Gemara says, they sent to Eretz Yisrael. Sinai, Okaharim, Ezam Kolam. If you have two rabbis, one is Sinai, one is Okaharim, who should you hire for the job as Rosh Hashiva? So they sent back Sinai Kodim, the one who has the more of the knowledge of the law, even though he doesn't have the exact level of analytical skills as the other rabbi, he should be the one to be the Rosh Hashiva. Everyone needs the wheat. Meaning, if you want to grind wheat and you want to have wheat, you want to have flour, if you don't have the wheat, you can't have the flour. So if you want Torah, if you don't have the basic law and the basic knowledge of Torah, you won't be able to go ahead and to know what's right or wrong.
So in other words, he has more general knowledge.
More general knowledge. Not expert in analysis. When you do a Gemara and you go this way and that way and going back and forth, he said the more important to have the one who knows the law first. And then better to know more. Better to know more. And you know the basic law, even if you might, maybe in the analysis of the law, you might not be as perfect, but you know the law. If you want to go, if you have to go very deep, you might not, the level of depth might not be as, now of course he had a certain level of depth. The Gemara says, Afal Pikain, even so, Lo Kibul Rabbi Yosef. Even though Rabbi Yosef was offered the job, he did not accept the job as Rosh Hashiva. Why not? Because the astrologist told him, you're going to rule for 2 years. After 2 years Rosh Hashiva, you're gonna pass away. Now, even though we don't go to astrologists, we don't look at the stars, but some say they told him on their own. They told him that, and he was so what? So he didn't take the spot. So he waited. He let the other rabbi take the spot. So what happens? Malach Rabbi the other rabbi was Rosh Hashiva for 22 years, and after the other rabbi Rabbi Yosef taught the Shnin, then after that Malach Rabbi Yosef taught the Shnin Palga. Then Rabbi Yosef took over. After 22 years, he ruled for 2.5 years, and then he passed away. And Kol Hanach Shani de Rabbi Yosef Malach Rabbi, and all the years that Rabbi was Rosh Yeshiva, even when Rabbi was Rosh Yeshiva, the other rabbi was Rosh Yeshiva. This rabbi who was offered the job, who didn't take it because he felt the time is not right. I'm not taking the job now. He didn't act in a haughty way. He acted very humble. Usually, they used to take out blood. They used to have a blood letter. They felt then they take out a little blood. It helps the circulation of the blood, and it's healthy for the system. But so a lot of times, a very prominent person would call the blood letter to the dad. Good morning. But because he was so humble, even though, and he didn't want to show who I am, I was tapped for the job. But look at the sensitivity that he had for the other rabbi. At the end of the day, the other rabbi got the job. I'm going to act like everybody else. I'm not having the bloodletter guy come to my house. I'm not acting like a big noble man, like the president has his people come to the house. The barber comes to his house. No, I'm not having that. I'm going out to get the bloodletter. I want to wish everyone a great day. We're going to finish up tonight at the Siyum. And Jaime, we look forward to hearing you later tonight. And we'll be in touch later. More details.
Are we going to do Zoom?
Yeah, we're going to do a Zoom, yes. And tentatively, we're going to be on this Zoom. If there's any change in Zoom address, we will send to the group. If there's any change in Zoom address, okay?
Okay, thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
All the best,
Okay,
everybody.
Rabbi. I'm gonna call you offline.
Okay.
I'm gonna call you.
Very good.
Is
Thank you very
Nathan
much.
on?
Nathan's not here. He'll be here tonight.
It's Nathan. Oh, okay.
He was
All right.
feeling a little under the weather, but he'll be better tonight. Have a great day, and we have a great davening, everybody. All the best.
Thank you, Rabbi.
All right. I'm calling you off on the phone, Rabbi.
I got it. You got it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Bye.